Welcome back to Aronimink Golf Club in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. I'm Patty Hogan alongside the one and only Scott Kaler and the one and only Dave Bissell for the final match of Pro Flight today. I'm going to throw it over to Scott Kaler to introduce us to our players.
All right, serving right now we have Anton Protsenko in the blue hoodie. His partner is Dan Hansen, the left-hand player with the gray sweats and gray top. And then on the far side, about to return serve now, is Tomas Christian. And his partner in the ad court, left-handed player in the ad court, is Drew Broderick.
Got it. And Scott, we enjoyed watching that last match. You know, I got to give you a lot of credit, Scott. I remember last year at Lehigh Country Club, you rallied at the last minute, brought your buddy along to play there, and then all of a sudden you lose Graham this morning?
Yeah, so this is 2 of the last 3 pro fights that I've had the opportunity to play. Morning of the event, I lost my partner. Wow. I'll tell you what, Dan Hansen's got one of the best spin droppers in the country, and since it's lefty, it's even tougher to read in the spins reversed from what is normal. He's such a good kill shot. But
that was nasty.
Yeah, Graham woke up not feeling well this morning and wasn't able to make it, so ended up doing, Drew's pretty flexible. We ended up doing kind of a round robin format and different partners, and got to play with a couple of different guys today. It was a lot of fun.
Scott, we enjoyed it. I particularly love it when you pull out your two-handed backhand, I gotta say.
Probably maybe 50% of them, though. Just not quite all of them.
I feel like you're way over 50%.
I probably remember the bad ones more than the good ones. But I mean, it's important from the backcourt to be able to show a little bit of offense, and, not let a team just dump ball after ball after ball. And it's a fine line between you don't want to make errors, but you want to let them know that they can't just push balls there all day.
And Scott, you're one of the game's top players. I love how you close the net. You had that great combination of you had a drop shot off of Drew there in that match, a little angle volley. I'm sure you remember that one. Love watching you close the net. Can you just talk to us a little bit about the mentality difference when you're not playing 2 out of 3 sets in that third, a full set, Scott, versus the Pro Flight breaker? How does it impact your mental approach to it?
I think Drew and I talked about it in our first match. We won the first set pretty easily, and then we got down a couple games in the second, and we almost felt like the match was tied, even though we hadn't lost the set yet. And I think that's the biggest difference when you're playing a match with a super breaker or the Pro Flight breaker instead of a full third set is, it's easy to let one set slip away, and then all of a sudden it's just a handful of points that are going to decide the match. So you kind of have to have that mindset of, every point really matters. At the beginning of a set, you don't want to fall behind. You want to try to keep momentum if you have it. And not that those things don't apply in a regular 2 out of 3 match, but when there's a full third set, you can kind of still feel confident that you can work your way through a couple bad games. Whereas once it gets into a tiebreaker, a handful of points go against you, and all of a sudden you're down like 9-3, and you feel like it's an insurmountable hill to climb.
Good point. Hey Scott, how great is it having Graham move from Chicago to Pittsburgh?
Oh, we love having him in Pittsburgh. It's we already had some good practice games with all the Pittsburgh guys, but he's just jumped into the mix, and he plays as much as any of them, and so it's just kind of elevated it that much better. And we've got such a good core group of guys that play the tournaments and that are in the league in Pittsburgh, and he's just kind of joined right in the community. He was friends with a bunch of us from tournaments over the years and having played a lot together, and now it's just that much more that he's there and playing in the leagues on Monday nights with all the other Pittsburgh teams, and playing pickup games other weeknights and on the weekends as well when we're not away at tournaments.
And how fun is it listening to Graham McNerney after a match?
It's like a live podcast. You can just kind of
exactly.
You can find out everything you could have done or needed to do, or
he's a student of the game, you would say, and analyzes it probably about as well or better than everyone. So I'm guessing after a match he will break down everything as much as he can, or someone will listen to him.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's definitely that aspect to it, but almost a great get there by Tomas. But yeah, Graham's he's got a very analytical, cerebral approach to the game, and almost all the time, probably all the time actually, what he perceives as having happened on the court is correct in terms of like what adjustments could have been made for the team that didn't do well, or what strategy each team should have been implementing. And so having the ability to talk with somebody like that on a regular basis and go over strengths and weaknesses of different players and teams and scenarios is, it's a net positive for everybody.
Scott, true or
Go
false?
ahead, Patty.
Graham McNerney won the first pro flight event ever held.
I'm going to say true, and I believe that was at Westchester Country Club maybe 3 years ago.
Game Broderick Christian.
And they beat, was it Drew and Jared they beat?
In the semis.
In the semis, and then
Finals.
probably Johan in the finals, right? Or was it Hughes
No,
Powers?
Johan
Hughes
Steven went out in the quarters that year.
Oh,
Hughes Powers.
Hughes Powers.
Then the number 1 and 2 teams, I believe, in the country, and McNerney was playing with.
Madik Travinsky.
You're on fire today, Scott.
I spent a lot of time looking at paddle results and watching live streams. So.
Well, Dave Bissell, who you've met here today, he's a student of the game, Scott, and as are you. And we joke about Graham and his nonstop ability, to talk and talk and talk paddle. But I love it because he's a student of the game and he wants to understand everything about the game. And if anyone, we all study the live stream. You do as a player, and it's benefited you and everybody else in the game. It's so fun.
Absolutely, yeah. It's so good to be able to, go back and watch your own matches because, when you're playing a match, sometimes it's a little bit different what you think is happening versus what's actually happening, or how much, certain scenarios impacting, whether it's yourself or your opponents, and getting to watch it and see the flow of points from kind of this bird's eye view.
What one
really
shot do you remember from your last match, Scott?
30.
For good or bad? Is there one shot that you thought about, oh, you wish you had it again?
Probably there was a forehand screen drive in that 4-all game point that missed long trying to go down the line.
And you
in
missed
the
long
second
by
set.
as little as you could miss a shot by.
Yeah, I swung a touch too soon. The ball was still a tiny bit behind me when I swung. I didn't quite have my footwork.
Wow, great volley by
Correct.
Anton.
Well, and just watching, I love watching you play, and it's really fun. And I just thought if you had that shot back, that you would take that shot back over any other miss that you did have in that match.
Yeah, because we had played a really long game the game before to get back to 4-all. And we were starting to get a little bit of momentum coming our way after a slow start. And I think if we could have gotten that 5-4 game, maybe we could have gotten into another one of those exciting pro flight breakers.
I felt like that's where it was headed.
Yeah.
Again, one more shout out to our sponsors of Pro Flight Paddle from the beginning. All these guys have been super generous, bringing the live stream all around the country. And Dave Bissell, you're doing a great job. I love that you're hosting this event today out of Aronimink, a local player from Picket Post. Scott, have you played at Picket Post yet?
I don't think I've ever actually played. I certainly know of it, and I've played the Philly tournament a bunch over the years. I don't think I've ever been assigned to a match at that club, though.
Yeah, so Pickett's a small club, but we are
15 love.
very strong. We're one of the top 2 teams in the league at the top level, but not well known, sort of nationally, but a lot of very good players. And a lot of players at Picket Post who love the game. We analyze the game, and unfortunately, many of the members of Picket Post have had to listen to me analyze the game for years now. Usually after a match, a couple of beers, I have a lot to say about myself, my opponents, or my teammates.
More or less than Graham?
I'm probably about equivalent to him. I respect him so much because he also is an analytical person and loves analyzing the game. And I listened to him on a live stream one time, and he was breaking down percentages of serves and that thing. And I respected everything he had to say because that's the way my mind works too. So he's very. I was hoping he was going to be here because I wanted to listen to him because I think he's got a great mind for the game.
And, we have an early lead here for Broderick Christian. Again, they're the established team. They've played a lot of tournaments recently together. And, in this format, you have Prasenko and Hansen, coming on board. They haven't played a set together before this. So there's a normal period of adjustment here. But, Scott, great players. They adjust. How many games does it take?
I I think right from
Add
the
in.
start, you definitely have a little. You start to feel a little bit of a flow. Sometimes it can be a little bit awkward on overheads if you're not totally on the same page. But I think the important thing is to just communicate a lot when you're a new partnership. You call all the obvious balls so that when you do get those kind of 50-50 balls, or a little bit more uncertainty, you're in the habit of making the calls. And because so many lobs, either person could end up reaching it or taking it, but there's almost always a better person to take it based on positioning and where the lob comes from. So I think, with a new team, just calling it, talking a little bit more, maybe a little more than normal, is the best way to just kind of work through those, because, you just don't have the experience of having played a bunch of points and matches together where you kind of naturally flow in one direction or the other.
Love 4.
And I think especially a team like this with Hansen and Protsenko, Hansen has so much spin, so much ability to end points. They're probably trying to set him up to hit a few more of the overheads, and it's, all right, like, where do you like the lobs coming from? Which types of lobs do you like to try to hit a little more aggressively? And that way both players can be on the same page.
Scott, where will we see you in the new year as you head to the Nationals in Long Island in March? Where will you play beforehand? And with whom?
Yes, I'm going to play Nationals with Paul Rose.
15 off.
That's great.
And we've actually been exchanging texts the last couple of days. We're not sure which tournaments we're going to play leading up to Nationals, trying to just figure out schedules a little bit. But we definitely are going to do Nationals and at least one other, maybe two.
15.
But in terms of whether it's one of the Grand Prix,
Scott?
so we played Charities. We finished 9th there. We lost to Humphreys and Osis Koenig on their. They had such a great run to the semis. They kind of blitzed us pretty good. So we lost them in the round of 16, and then won that back draw. And then the week after that, we played Cleveland tournament, and we won that. So those are the two tournaments we played together so far this year.
30-40.
Nice. And one more shout out to Pittsburgh Paddle, Scott. I think having you out there, you're a former teaching pro in the area, but you see a guy like Mr. Rams, who's come on the scene in the last 2 years.
What a move he's made.
I mean, as a prominent player in our sport, and I credit some of that to you, Scott, because I think the more solid players you have in a region, it just elevates the game and the trajectory for all the new, the incoming young, talented pros. And having guys like you, we're at the ready on a Monday night league makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky to have, a lot of guys in the area that have started playing and traveling to tournaments. And there's no doubt that playing tournaments against the best players in the country is what elevates your game. And Philippe's a perfect example of that. The last couple of years, he's gone from a guy with a ton of talent and the ability to play at the top of the game, and now he's there. You see the results that he and I had last year, and that he's having with Mike Wagner this year. And they can compete with anybody. They have the ability to beat any team on any given day. And Philippe's such a dynamic player. He puts so much pressure on you.
And he's so smooth.
Very
he
fluid,
doesn't look like
smooth.
he's trying it all.
Mm-hmm.
He just, the way he glides around the court is just very impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a pretty good highlight video that My Paddle put together of his Detroit points. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was on. I think they posted it on Instagram the last day or two. Just all the highlight. He had a few just ridiculous cut winners. They had a really good match against Morgan Fraser in the quarters there. They pulled out in 3 sets. And
that's a great win.
It was a really good win for them.
Morgan Fraser have been playing great. I mean, certainly last year they were one of the hottest teams.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and they were dead in the water in that match, Scott.
Yeah,
right?
they were down a set in 4-1.
I mean, I shut it off. I mean, I was just sort of listening to it and couldn't believe that Fraser and Morgan weren't going to keep going and win that second set. And I go back to live scoring later and couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that was.
But in paddle, you learn. You've been around a lot, and you believe anything.
Yeah, if you can just flip the momentum a little bit. And, even the scoreboard didn't look great at that point.
Oh, what a shot.
Little cat and mouse casual passing shot there.
That was awesome.
But yeah, that was a great win for Rams and Wagner last weekend. That was a great comeback. That was the second time they beat Morgan Fraser this year. They also beat him in the 5th place match at Charities. But obviously doing it in a main draw at a Grand Prix is, maybe a little more meaningful, or, carries a little more weight. So.
And Scott, as you know, this sport is so much about matchups, and somehow it's a great matchup for them, where Morgan and Fraser can make a lot of people look silly, and all of a sudden that matchup favors, Rams and Wagner. It's totally switched.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Matchups can play a huge role in a variety of different, as different teams are playing each other. Team A can beat Team B, and B can beat C, and C can beat A, and it's. And sometimes it's razor-thin margins.
And Scott, about the momentum. You're a former APTA national chair. You ran of the national championships, and you made it. You ran a tournament one weekend, and incredibly, you guys made it all the way to the semis. I know you wish you gotten a little further, but that was incredible.
That was a lot of fun that weekend.
Yep, you guys. I think we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back here on Pro Flight Live.
Okay.
Success takes hard work. Making success a legacy takes discipline. PPAC Private. Your legacy, our discipline.
At Veritext, it's not just a deposition. It's the witness that will win your trial. It's the reason you became a lawyer. It's your first case as a partner. It's that case that will make you partner. It's for the families who lost something. It's for that groundbreaking patent. It's for one of the largest companies in the world, or one of the smallest. It's something that will change someone's life forever. At Veritext, it's never just a deposition. We understand it's so much more.
15 love.
We're back from Aronimink Golf Course on Pro Flight Paddle, Pro Flight Live from Newtown, Pennsylvania. I'm Patty Hogan alongside Dave Bissell and I believe Scott Kaler for one more game.
I'll stick around for a little bit. That first set was quick.
He
so
can't resist leaving. He loves it here. He's having so much fun.
Well,
we'll see if we can.
Scott,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you're sticking around. I love your insights to the game. You're really a super smart player out there, and I was talking about your feat where you chaired the Nationals a couple years ago and made it to the semis, which was incredible. I think did you go out in 3 sets? Who beat you in 3 in that tournament?
So we played Araya Parsons in the semis. Brian Compton and I did. It wasn't 3 sets. We almost made it 3 sets. We were up 5-4 in the second set. That was another match. I missed a forehands very similar to the one I missed at 4-all here. A screen drive that I just my bread and butter favorite shot, that
30,
forehand
15.
drive coming high off the screen. I missed one of those at a key moment at the 5-4 game that could have given us a chance for a set point. But yeah, they beat us. I think it was like maybe 6-1, 7-5 in that set.
Yep, I think I was on that match, and it was amazing. It was an amazing second set. I think I was just hoping you made it 3 sets.
Yeah.
That was, of course, when Araya Parsons had their run and won that Nationals in Pittsburgh.
Yep. Yeah, they played a great tournament. That was a tremendous final. They played against Hughes Powers. What was it, 7-5 in the third, maybe? It was definitely a deep 3-set match.
So fun. Was that at Fox Chapel?
Yep, Fox Chapel Racket Club. Yep.
I think I was in the stands for that final, enjoying watching it with all those appreciative paddle fans out in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's a great club. It's a super enthusiastic paddle membership. They love hosting. They host the West Bend every year, the Pittsburgh ranking tournament. I think let's see, Pittsburgh Nationals has been
Hansen,
there
Prosenko.
3 times,
They
I
lead
believe.
1 love.
I've been playing the last 2 times it was there, and I think it was there once as well before I started playing. So, yeah, great club for all the paddle festivities in Pittsburgh.
Yep, so fun. All right, so Scott, Prosenko, they're on the board here. Prosenko and Hansen. What's this take to turn this around? Like 1 point, really, and a tiny bit of momentum?
I think especially knowing that it's a pro flight breaker instead of the third set. Kind of like I was saying that Drew and I talked about after we lost a couple games early in our second set in the first match. If you get down in the second, all of a sudden you feel like the match is almost tied, and it becomes a coin flip situation in a breaker. So if Prosenko and Hansen can just steady the ship a little bit. I think they've been making a few too many errors, maybe forcing it a little bit. If they can just kind of get their teeth into some points and, generate some errors or get some errors from Broader, like that. Drew just trying to go a little bit too short on the angle there, pounding it into the side screen. And, if they can get out to a 2-0 or 3-1 lead, all of a sudden, the pressure's right back on Broderick and Christian because they're feeling like they're cruising right now, but at the same time with, only a couple games away from it being a 50-50 situation and a tiebreaker.
And to your point, like Hansen and Prosenko, they've got to somehow look for their spots, but they got to steady the ship. They got to just minimize their unforced errors.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like this first game here, they've switched a couple of times in the backcourt, and also Prosenko's looked to blitz off of a lob.
Yep.
And it's kind of just created a little bit of a couple of errors from Broderick and Christian, and maybe just a little bit of kind of mixing up the patterns, not letting them just hit the safe overhead that they want to every time. Here's that switch again, so now Anton's on the forehand side. You have a lefty.
Great point, Scott and Dave. And for club level players who are so reluctant or who only will play one side, that's the problem. They lose the tactical adjustment available to them and just switching courts at the backcourt, because you don't really think typically that you can take a net team out of their patterns on overheads, but you certainly can.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you switch in the backcourt, it's not even because you think, oh, I want my forehand on this side. It's literally just things can't be going worse, so let's try something different. And that can be a super effective strategy in paddle. Because I'm sure that Drew and Tomas talked about what are the safe spots to hit overheads, what patterns do we want to get into, and not that you can't talk about it again here with them switching, but it's just different. In the moment, you're not completely programmed about, all right, where are we hitting our resets, where are we hitting our attacking overheads.
Yeah, making your opponent think about where they have to hit the ball, because if you're thinking in paddle, that's a disadvantage. So if you're kind of like, oh, they've switched sides, now I got to hit the ball here. If your opponents are starting to think about where they have to hit the ball, that's an advantage for you, which is a big advantage to switching sides if things are not going your way.
And especially when it's a lefty being put into the ad side, because it's pretty uncommon that, Drew's one of the few lefties that plays over there regularly, but,
right.
Having a lefty over there with that forehand going, or the forehand to the side screen that you're, as a right-handed player, you're so used to being able to just hit balls into that side screen as kind of the quote-unquote safe spot. All of a sudden you can do some funny things when a good lob goes up and you're not sure what your target should be, because you're like, oh, they're switched. What am I doing? Oh,
yep.
Crap, why'd I hit it there? And then you just miss a random ball, or you give them a totally juicy ball to drive.
And it's things like that, sometimes switching to I formation, little changes to make your opponents have to think a little bit more or change their strategy can completely change the momentum.
Absolutely. And you see Dan Hansen getting some
15 love.
Couple overheads that he could really take aggressive swings at. And like I said, when that ball comes off his paddle, it's shaped like an egg. And even though in your mind okay, it's a lefty hitting spin, so I need to aim a little bit more cross court than I normally would because the spin's going to bring it back to the middle, there's still something about that moment of the ball's coming at you with so much spin on it that you're still uncertain even though you know what it should be. And
15 off.
Drew just kind of showed that he can do it too with that spin dropper.
Yep, I'll just be curious to see as this set goes on, with Dan Hansen's incredible egg-shaped overhead that he can hit. Obviously, Prosenko just letting Hansen take over on the overheads into Tomas Christian's deuce court corner could be real beneficial for them.
Yeah,
Tomas
I would
has
think
the least amount of experience dealing with, the crazy spins these guys can hit.
A little impatient there by
15,
Anton.
30.
Yeah, that ball it was low, but it wasn't quite soft and floaty enough to try to.
Yep.
I wonder if he thought Dan was going to hit it.
Yeah, there might have been a little bit of indecisiveness that ball's coming into the middle of the court there.
Ripped by Drew.
Yeah, I do think this is the play where Hansen kind of takes over on the overheads.
Whew.
As opposed to Anton.
Yeah, and then
Drew
Drew read that and just moved by Dan.
Dan read the dropper. He was already moving. He was already up to the service line, but as Drew was making contact, he saw the short spinner coming. And, sometimes you do have to guess a little bit when see your opponent lining up for that short spinner, because if they hit it well, it's going to be within a couple inches of the net. So you need to already be running.
And here they go to the eye with Anton kind of pushing his serve.
Yes, Scott, to your point in your match where you're talking about that a couple times, where you have to, when you see that guy lining up and that drop cutter is a possibility, if you don't move forward, you have no chance. But then when you move forward, if the guy changes his mind and just puts it at his feet, you guys did that to each other in that last match.
Yeah, exactly. It's, the threat of the short spin drop shot overhead is almost just as effective as the actual ability to hit it, because it forces the baseline team to have to commit. And then, like you said, if they take that step forward a little too early, then you can kind of either deep slash or just a medium push right at their feet, and then they're caught having to pick it up, or you can execute the spin dropper and still win the point sometimes.
And Scott, one of the things that you see with these players, the top players who have all this variety on the overheads, they can just make the court seem to take on a different shape than what club level players play. And a lot of times the overheads that club level players give and get to each other are all flat. Like there's very little spin involved.
I have a lot of experience with those types of overheads, Patty.
Exactly. I have none.
No, I was saying the flat overheads.
Yeah, I know, Scott. But I saw you. I saw you hit some cutters into the ad corner today. I love that shot.
Every once in a while.
Ooh.
I think I whiffed one too.
Great overhead by Tomas.
But yeah, in terms of what club level players can take out of the overheads is watch the way these players hit their kind of reset overheads. When their opponents hit a good deep lob, because those types of shots, almost any skill level can hit. Right? They're setting their paddle early. They're getting back behind the ball, and then they're trying to push it with medium to soft pace, landing in the back third of the court, usually the middle third in terms of left and right, and back third in terms of depth. Because if you hit that spot with not much pace, there's nothing the other team can do to really hurt you. If they do try to drive it, they're driving from deep in the middle, which is good for the net team. And if they don't drive it, then they're just hitting another lob, and you're fine. And those are the types of shots that, regardless of your individual skill level, when you're watching these top-level players, you can kind of try to replicate.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sometimes you say, don't try this at home. These are the pros. They can do this stuff. And we said, it takes a ton of practice. And as you know, it's a ton of practice also in high-level competition to be able to deal with the pressure of executing in the moment of truth.
Absolutely. It's a totally different thing to hit a cutter when you're just, kind of messing around practice. And then there's kind of the next level of like practice matches, and then there's league matches, and then there's tournament matches. And then there's 4-all in the third set of a tournament match, and each one of those requires so much more confidence, muscle memory, to hit those shots. And there's the amount of guys that can hit spin droppers in practice is probably 50 times the amount that can do it at 4-all in the third set in the semifinals of a Grand Prix.
For sure.
They have Drew and Tomas reversed here, so they're going to go hard into Tomas's corner.
Yeah, a lot of times Drew and Tomas switch out of this pretty quick if they get put into this spot.
Yes,
So
agreed.
I don't know if maybe just because they're up in the score and it's a comfortable match situation, they feel like they can just get a couple reps.
And they got the error.
Like this. But
15 love.
Yeah, I think Drew is looking for something else on that shot. Kind of ended up overrunning the ball slightly. That's the threat of the cutter, Scott.
That's right, exactly.
Scott, one of the things I do, as I've said a lot about, you're one of the game's best at moving in, and with your backhand volley, you just commit to it, and you get on top of the net, and you know that when you or your opponent, you or your partners hit a shot that really creates a driving opportunity, you don't hang out and just have your weight on your heels. You close in and get on top of the net, so there's no way that ball can get below the level of the net. How do you get a club level player to have that nerve to do that, Scott? That's what I want to know.
You know, one thing I always say to people is that it's a little bit counterintuitive, but the closer and lower you are to the net,
30 off.
the less likely you are to get hit by a ball. The times that you get hit, and actually the time that Tomas hit me pretty good today, I was a little bit off the net and I was standing completely upright. He smacked that forehand screen drive and it was going out, but I just couldn't get out of the way. When you get right on top of the net and get down real low, the net is protecting like 80% of your body. Your paddle is protecting probably another 15%, so there's only like 5% of your body that's vulnerable to get hit. So if you get close and you get low, you're actually reducing the chance that you're going to get hit. You're maximizing the chance you're going to make the volley. So you're giving you and your partner the best chance to win the point by being in that good position. And from a
40,
personal
30.
safety standpoint, it's actually the best way to not get hit by the ball. But it is a little bit counterintuitive, and it's important to get low, because if you're not low, then you definitely are going to get hit. You're going, those drives that end up being hit a little high and a little hard, they're going to catch you in the shoulder or the chest, the armpit, those awkward spots that we can't get our paddle up to. But if you get down low and get that paddle up kind of in front of your chest, neck, chin area, then you're pretty much protecting
at your
everything.
height, I'm asking this because I want to learn. As a taller person, do you find that difficult? There's a lot of guys in the paddle world who are shorter in stature, and they have a solider base. And when you're taller, sure, it helps you on the overheads because you can get more, but it's hard to get low. So do you find that difficult at your height to get low and make those volleys versus the guys who are kind of have that more compact base who are naturally very skilled at that?
It's definitely something I consciously think about. If you look at me when I'm the server's partner standing at the net, I almost always start out crouched, like almost a little obnoxiously low, and that's kind of like my own cue, like, all right, you need to stay low. This is the thing we talked about, because obviously he and I are both pretty tall.
Yep.
And when we played matches together, we're like, if we just stay low, we literally almost never miss volleys. The vast majority of volleys we miss are when we're a little bit upright, we're a little bit stiff, we're not absorbing the ball. It is, to your point, it's absolutely a conscious thought. As a taller person, it's important that you do stay a little bit lower than someone. If you're 6'3", compared to somebody who's 5'9" or 5'10", yeah, you need to get down more, because that's just where your natural position is a little bit out of position. By being, higher and upright, if you're standing upright, you're gonna save more drives that would be going long.
Well, it's right there, Scott. I think that's a huge point. I see a ton of club level players. And I love playing, against taller club level players, because they play an incredible amount of out balls because they play off the net. And you know how to close, and you don't play out balls. You never reach up for a volley.
Yeah,
you stand right on top of the net. Your hands are so good. So not only do you have the great hands to cut off those great volleys, but also letting the ball go through when it's high is just, a skill that I watch you and Graham, because you, again, two tall people. I'm like, how do I emulate their volley games, because they're both so skilled at the net.
And I think
Dave, one thing I'd like to throw in real fast here is that I think with these players, the game's best players, when you watch Graham Scott play, you watch all these guys and they volley, they have quiet hands, they don't reach up for out balls, and they really shift generally when they're comfortable with their partners a lot. And if they can't stick a perfectly solid volley, that's when they let the ball go through. The high ones they probably assume are going to go out anyway, but it's when their opponents can just pick, that perfect lane, maybe right through the middle. If Scott, and whoever he's playing with can't hit solid volleys, they much prefer, as a strategy, to go into the transition game.
That is a great point, Patty. I have seen some of those top guys, they just do not reach for that volley. If it's extending, they let it go through. They're willing to go back and play it and play it from the baseline and reset the point, when a lot of club players will try to stab at that volley and miss it. And that's a big difference between the higher levels and the club player.
I think what Tomas just did right there was a perfect example of that. Anton had that forehand down the line, and it was maybe, I don't know, a foot to the left of Tomas. And I bet he wasn't certain that it was going deep, but it was close enough to maybe going deep
15,
and enough
40.
of a reach that he let it go. And it ended up being maybe 2 or 3 inches out. So that's 100% winning the point. But even if he had misjudged it and it did drop in, that's a ball they're going to retrieve 99 out of 100 times.
Yep.
So when you think about which, there's a chance it goes out, which you automatically win, and there's almost a certain chance that you're just in a 50-50 situation if it is in. Whereas if you reach for the volley, you're way more likely to miss the volley. If you make it, you're way more likely to hit a volley that's going to be able to be driven again. So kind of what you guys were saying about, not reaching and just staying in that low kind of ready crouch position, it's also much easier to not reach for volleys. We tend to reach more when we're standing upright, when we're a little bit flat-footed. There's a great spinner there, but they read it. Can they track it down and get back to neutral?
Wow, what a point here.
Yep, 2 good retrievals, and now here we go again.
Really fun exchange. Broderick Christian up 3-2. Second set of our final match of Pro Flight from Aronimink Country Club.
And they got Dan to go for
30,
a
40.
little bit of a stretch there.
Yeah, Dan likes to look for his forehand, and I don't even know if that was necessarily a bad one to look for. I think maybe his swing was just a little bit too big and he mistimed it, but that was a little bit of a down-up overhead, and unfortunately for them, they just didn't execute it, but still a game point here to get to level the second set. That's one he wants back. You can see where he's probably closer to the back screen than the baseline and wait a little bit on his back foot. Even if it goes in, they're not going to, very rarely going to win the point or even get Drew and Tomas scrambling off of a drive like that. So that's probably one to throw up and look for one that you can drive it. A lot of times you want to be either closing to the baseline or inside the baseline when you're making that drive, not have your weight back in the green and falling back towards the back screen.
Yep, and Hansen missed that shot over in the ad court, then kind of overjuiced that next ball Scott. We've seen a lot of players, and that's where it takes the discipline to hit the delete button. Don't forget it totally, but don't be the guy or the woman who makes the next error.
Right.
So big point for Anton and Dan to get back to 3-all, and there they go.
That's a great drive from Protsenko.
Hansen.
Protsenko's backhand is sneaky good.
Yes, exactly. What we were talking about earlier, in very small spaces, he can generate a lot of power.
Real quick, like wrists and forearms.
Yes,
and, yeah,
exactly.
He definitely generates it. Today was the first time I've played with him, and I've actually only been on the court with him one time. Philippe and I played him and Max in the quarter reprieve of Long Island last year, and that's the only time I've been on the court with him. So I don't know his game as well as a lot of the other guys, but I was impressed in our match today just how many balls he can kind of take in a.
But he's one of those guys that's kind of like the rocket booster, where he's kind of been coming up the last couple years and just skyrocketing to the top of the game very quickly due to his incredible skills, but also just picking up the game very quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. He's played a lot. He's had a lot of good results, and he's got so much skill.
The opportunity to play against so many great players, and of course alongside the wonderful Max Lefebvre.
Yeah. So Dan's going to try to go to work here on Tomas's hip.
Yeah, I like the play. Just anywhere at Tomas here. Just don't give him a high forehand. And
he went for too much there. So he's trying to hit Tomas's hip to not give
he
Tomas.
couldn't have even hit over to Drew. He didn't even need to right there.
On that point, he probably did not. He tried to be a little too perfect and went for too much, which is what Drew and Tomas were hoping for. But Dan's going to try to find Tomas's hip, and then when they get a short lob, attack.
Yeah, I have a way of saying it, Dave. Don't hit to Drew.
Yeah, I mean, you can't avoid Drew completely, but for sure, you're right. I mean, Drew is
40-30.
I'm just saying at 3-all in this situation, it could go either way. These guys want to get it into a Pro Flight Blaker in the third set here, and I still think you make Thomas beat you.
If it's a 50-50 ball, for sure, you're going at Tomas and not Drew, no doubt. You can see they're letting Dan take the overheads, going
Right.
at
And Drew
Tomas.
hasn't really posed a threat with his two-handed up the middle,
Game
Scott
pitch
and
for
Dave
Seiko.
here. That's why, like,
Really the
the
set
error
forward.
wide is kind of silly to Drew. That's my point. That if there was a ton of pressure from Drew in that, like in the last couple games, right there off his backhand, but we haven't seen that yet. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like you have to be aware of what your opponents are doing at all times, and then adjust to that.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's very little reason to flirt with Drew's forehand or that side screen. I think the majority of the overhead should be middle to favoring Tomas's side from Prudsenko and Hansen.
And it seems like that's what Dan and Antone have started to realize, and they, despite a very slow first set, they're finding their groove and attacking that and starting to find a little bit of rhythm.
I also think, Scott, you've seen this a million times. You know, when you have a team who hasn't played that much with each other, and we see a huge need for them to drag this out, slow down the game, really work the points, you got to have trust that your partner's thinking along the same lines, I think. And that kind of helps you have a little bit more resiliency and like grit to grind this out, to get it to a third.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's probably one of the things that's toughest for two teams is, when you get into those real long points in the deep stages of a set, kind of having like both people exactly on the same page in terms of, all right, what pace are we playing at? What ball are we looking for? As opposed to just an individual looking for their own shot or something. Some teams get that right away just because there's that backhand
Great
again
rip.
from Anton
Man.
pulling a quick trigger. But it seems like Anton and Dan are starting to kind of be on the same page. They're
15.
Playing a little bit longer points now. They're getting some juicy spots to swing at their drives that can generate some good offense for them.
Yep, and Anton went exactly right back to the left side of Broderick, a little above his waist. Little chicken wing volley there. It is so fun to watch Prudsenko and just the power that he generates off that two-handed backhand, and he's Popeye-like with his strength in his arms.
That's right.
And, just the control that he can get when that ball's moving away from him is kind of unique.
15
Most
all.
people are effective on their drives when they can lean in toward the court, where I've seen him fire that backhand when his body's weight's going the wrong way.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter to
he
him.
generates such incredible power from a unleveraged position, I'll call it, which is very rare.
That's a good way of describing it.
I was going to say that's how Graham would say it, Scott. An unleveraged position, Dave. I love it.
It's funny. Graham just sent me a text a few minutes ago. I'll read it here. It says, basically, he just turned on the live stream. Just tuned in, and within half a minute, I hear my name. I feel there in spirit.
We wish he were. We wish he were here. We hope, Graham, you feel better soon.
Listen, I would have had a whole list of questions for him if he were here. I would have picked his brain. I'm glad he's listening in.
Hey, Scott, the most important question about Graham. Is he a Penguins fan yet?
Definitely not.
Ugh. You got to work on that.
I agree. Penguins have been on a, they started off a little bit slow, but I think they've won 6 straight now. So he should, because the Blackhawks aren't very good.
So, Patty, I have a little bit of tournament history with Graham and Scott, which maybe we'll save for if this gets to a third set.
This has the feelings of a Pro Flight third set breaker, I have to say.
I hope so. That would be a lot of fun to watch. But everybody wants to hear the Bissell, Graham, Scott tournament story, I can guarantee you.
I think I want to hear it. I don't think I know what this is.
You wouldn't know it.
Okay.
It was about 4 years ago. I was kind of like still learning the game. I played against you and Graham in a tournament, which was a lot of fun for me. But yeah, you would not know the story.
Was it Patterson or was it the?
It was Connecticut.
The paddle player.
It was in Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah, because a couple of years ago, Graham and I played Patterson at the beginning of the year, and then we also played the paddle player tournament.
Yeah, it was I think it was Connecticut, and you guys ended up winning the tournament.
So that would have been Patterson.
Okay.
30-15.
Yeah, that was a good one. We played in the semis. We played Bredberg and Lefevre, and then in the finals we played Araya and Morneau.
Your real challenge was probably in your.
But in the round of 16, apparently we played Bissell, and
it was probably your first or second round match. We had a match before you. I don't know if you guys had a match before us, but we won to get to you guys.
Okay.
And like I said, that might be a teaser for the third set. The outcome of that match.
You've got us on the edge of our seats.
Yeah,
Dave.
I know, Patty. That's what I'm trying to do. I like to build suspense. I'm a pro at this.
30-all, 4-3. Trying to. Hanson Prosecco trying to get this into a third set here.
Sneaky Drew with the drive there. Caught Dan not ready for it.
Broderick trying to pull out the win here in this final match with our host pro, one of our pros, Tomas Christian. It'd be great for him to get a win in front of the crowd. Another win in front of the home crowd.
Yes, the hometown fans. There's a big crowd out here that loves Tomas, and they want to see him pull this out. Tomas and JC are widely loved, not only at this club, but in this area. They're both just awesome guys. Promote the game. Just want to make everybody in this area better. Just two big proponents of this game.
Game Broderick Christian. Set is tied at 4 games off.
Now Drew's making his presence felt a little bit here in the middle.
Look for that backhand in the middle, maybe a little bit more as the points get tight here at the towards the end of the set.
Yep, and trying to take a little pressure maybe off Tomas over there, or squeeze the court a little bit.
Well, right. I think he knows that Dan is going to go at Tomas's hip, and he's going to try to cheat over and force Dan to think about that overhead a little bit more.
You mean he's hitting it over at Thomas's body?
Yes, exactly. At his body, toward his backhand side, knowing that he can't get much leverage to attack the ball. So Drew is hoping to cheat over and cut that ball off. Because that's where Dan's most effective. He hits that cut overhead into your body, into your hip, into your backhand hip, and there's nothing you can do with it.
Yeah, so the point is, as this match gets deeper and the score gets tighter, this is where you see the difference of a Broderick, and that's why he's kind of looking to force the issue a little bit more.
Yes.
Because the score kind of calls for that.
Well said.
Oh, that's a big swing from
great
Tomas
forehand.
right there. Scott, is there a Penguins game tonight?
You know what?
30-15.
I'm not sure. They played Buffalo a couple of nights ago.
I just want to make sure you weren't going to miss it from the road. How far is your drive back? How long's your drive?
They actually play New Jersey tonight.
Oh, they're
Sunday,
Jersey.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Just
And
under 5 hours.
30-40.
Okay, got it.
So
Not bad.
couple podcasts. Maybe I'll listen to the Penguins game too. That'll be good.
Oh, that'd be great.
Probably give Graham a call.
That'll take up 4.5. You don't even have to speak.
Well, I'm sure he's listening. He's hearing every word
Graham,
of
we
it.
love you. You know that. 4-all, second set. We're at Aronimink.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
Antone had.
And
Wow.
really good sportsmanship there too. I don't think either
Game
Drew or
Broderick
Tomas saw
Christian.
that, and
They
Anton
lead
was
the
the one who
set
actually
5-4.
said that was out. Because if you look, both Drew and Tomas were running for that ball, and I think their back was turned when it landed. So
I believe you are
Good
correct.
sportsmanship
Yep.
from Anton to call that. Again, one last look at our sponsors here. Maybe not our last look, because I still think we could get a Pro Flight breaker for the third here. It'd be a great way to head into the little bit more of the holiday season toward the new year.
Oh, great lob.
Scott, did you finish your Christmas shopping?
I don't know if I've started.
We cover
There's a lot
all
of
angles.
opportunities between Philly and Pittsburgh, Scott.
Wow.
Good combo shots there from Dan and
Plus
Anton.
15.
I expect a rocket from Poroshenko here.
He will not be cheated.
Caught the tape. Good depth on the serve from
15
Drew
all.
there. Landing just inside the baseline, forcing Anton to have to take it on the rise. Makes it a little tougher to really swing through it.
Ooh, that was
that
same
was
thing.
as well.
Deja vu.
And that's serving on the side where both their forehands are in the middle. You would expect those issues to happen maybe when Drew's serving on the ad side and their backhands are in the middle to start.
So here we go again. Dan is trying to attack Tomas's backhand hip, not giving him anything to attack. And then when he gets a short lob, hitting a cutter.
Yeah, you can see how disciplined Poroshenko is right here with Hansen, just kind of staying out of the way, letting him do his thing.
I mean, Dan's overheads are so effective.
Little neck cord.
Look at that. I mean, Tomas snuck him with the
15-30.
kind of quick drive, and Dan got a little lucky with the leg cord. Great lob by Anton. Here we go. Chance to go to 5-all.
15-40.
Wow. Neither of these teams want to make a mistake. They're just in full grind mode. Oh, great attack move by Anton. Close. Here we go.
See if Drew and Tomas look to switch or if they.
Oh, yes, they're reversed. Good point. And great ball. 5-all. Dan with the waterfall into the corner.
Game, Hansen
Awesome shot.
Poroshenko. This set is tied at 5-all.
All right, so 5-all. Second set. Here we go.
Scott and Dave, I always love when the last match of a tournament goes 3 sets, personally, because you just don't want it to end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a lot of fun watching this. I have somewhere to go, but I could care less. I just want to keep watching. So I would love to see a third set.
Yeah, I can see a third set. My husband's a big Jets fan, and they survived the game. But I walked through the other room a little while ago.
My condolences for being a Jets fan.
Another rough one.
Antone, great hands at the net. Oh, wow. Man, what hands by Antone. Just so many great close contact volleys and pickups. Just awesome playing by him. He's really, I feel like, turned it up a little bit. Both of them have, both he and Dan.
Yeah, and Anton's volley, we talk about his arm strength and how he can hold that ball and just hit that ball so deep with a little bit of underspin on that ball, Scott. What a tough ball to defend.
Yeah, he's definitely picked up his game here the latter part of the set and not making the errors he was making throughout the first set and maybe even a little bit early in the second when Drew and Tomas looked a little more in control.
Again, we talk about it, it just takes like one shot, and then all of a sudden you can see a player totally change on the court.
15 all.
There you go. Dan's going to try to go to work again. So he just continues to go after
30,
Tomas's
15.
backhand hip, and then when he gets a short overhead, he's going to try to cut it hard, either attack Drew or Tomas.
Well, Tomas got baited into that overhead, I think, and I think it was intentionally hit, and just maybe these guys sensed a little bit of Tomas feeling the moment. He just went a little bigger than he had to.
But that's part of that's from Dan attacking him and not giving Tomas much to go after. So then when he gets a ball to go after, he maybe acts a little impatient. And
well, it's all different when it's 5-all in the second set.
Yep, pressure's on.
We talk about the difference of, people can hit backhand drop shot cutters on a Monday night, but as the stakes get higher, they're much harder to execute. And people do goad each other into some shots, and that's all. My point was, Tomas got goaded into a forehand there.
Agreed.
30 all.
30 all, 5 all, second set from Aronimink Golf Club.
Huge point coming up here.
That was the first
40-30.
real ball they've given Drew to take a big swing on. He overhit.
Great hands from everybody there. Wow. Forced mistake from Drew. Anton with incredible hands and short contact.
Game, Henson, Porsenko.
Picked up a couple of tough
Lead
balls
the set, 6-5.
and forced Drew to go for too much.
Yeah, Anton played a little, risky. He kind of was a little bit out of position, but, he's just got such amazing hands, and very little backswing, very little follow through, and just able to make solid contact point and force the error.
Yep.
And 15 love.
Why would we move in?
Yeah, it's like they had made the decision to start to give up the net, and then they saw maybe a glimmer of being able to keep the net, but it was definitely not the right situation to try and hold it.
30-15.
A couple loose points here, this 6-5 game.
Yes. Oh man, trying to force it with his blitz. Great move, taking control of the net. Wow. Drew, incredible hands to the net. Again, in a little bit of a knife fight, just wins that with great hands. Missed it. Wow.
I think he couldn't believe how juicy of a ball he got there.
That was a high four, and he wants that all day long.
That was an early Christmas present.
Yep. Here we go, breaker. This is a regular breaker. If we go to a third set, it'll be a pro flight breaker.
Easy for you to say, Dave.
Easy enough. Oh.
Again, there's just no need to feed Broderick that shot right there.
Agreed. Agreed. They should not have gone there. It should have been a dump to Tomas's backhand, and he tried to force it, and then Drew does what he does best: just get the ball that he can attack and just.
But that's just really having the presence of mind and the discipline. Right now, you're trying to get it into a third set breaker, and you have a choice, and you look up and you see Drew Broderick on one side, and you see Tomas, and Tomas is still my target. He's an amazing player, gotten himself to about 45th in the country, but in the moment of truth, you still make that the new guy prove it.
I agree. I think discipline is the correct word, and they were undisciplined on that ball.
And that one too.
Yep.
Just looking to force it. You know, he had just kind of recovered from looking for that lob blitz, which has been a good play for them. But when your opponent hits that overhead that gets past your lob blitz, then you kind of, for the next ball, need to go neutral.
Yep.
Unless they hit it so hard that maybe your partner gets a ball to drive. But rarely is that person who's recovering from the lob blitz going to drive the next ball, because they're usually still backpedaling that last step or two.
So Protsenko and Hansen need to slow it down, play some long points, and get back into this by doing what they were doing successfully.
I hope they know this is not a pro flight breaker, and they don't have a lot of time to figure it out here.
Yep.
That probe drive by Drew sets up this short
look
ball.
at that. Yep. Smart play by Drew.
And that's what I'm saying. He made his presence known. Key point, he was just looking for it, and sort of pounced on that ball up the middle, where plenty of times he just backs off the middle altogether.
Yeah, I mean, and he knows what his opponents are trying to do, because that's one of Drew's skills. He's such a strategist, so he knows where they're trying to go at Tomas's or Christian's backhand hip, and he steps in, gets the ball to attack, and forces a short volley.
Yep, it's going fast here. Broderick and Christian up 5-0 in this tiebreaker in the second set. They won the first set fairly easily, and this is Tomas Christian serving. Again, Tomas is one of the pros here right out of Aronimink Golf Course.
There will be a huge uproar here if they pull out the second set. Ooh.
Oh, what a swing volley from Tomas there to fight off the blitz. A lot of times when somebody's blitzing, you just need to stuff the ball right back at him, and he had that second hand on the paddle and kind of gave it a little extra. That was well done.
Great hands.
Not
a few match points here.
Couple, one or two. Ooh. That was a good combo by Dan Hansen, getting Tomas off the net and then coming over the top with the forehand to get Tomas Christian to miss the volley.
Hansen almost into Protsenko's alley, hitting that overhead. And it's when, it's when Christian's able to hit that type of lob, but then Drew's going to look for the next ball to potentially dump a ball back at Hansen's feet since he's been pulled out of position a little bit.
Yep.
But so far, Hansen's doing a good job of keeping the overheads, deep and out of that middle third, so Drew can't really look for that backhand that he kind of spots so well.
Great move by Drew. There it is.
There it is.
I mean, Drew just waited that entire point. He was willing to grind it out forever and then attacked.
Got one ball and made it happen.
Awesome.
7-6.
So Broderick and Christian are the winners of the final match of Pro Flight from Aronimink Golf Course, 6-0-7-6. Scott and Dave, how impressed are you by the rise of Tomas Christian's steady play out there in that second set in particular? I think he did a great job.
Yeah, he's really come along this year playing with Drew. He's getting a lot of experience at the top level. I think that match was a good example of it. There's a few errors, but overall at the end when the points really started to matter, he tightened things up and played a couple of good long points, and they were able to get the win.
I agree. He volleyed very well, dug out of his corner very well, and just let Drew attack when they needed to. Just Tomas Christian has come a long way already this year.
Yeah, you guys, that was great. I wish everyone a happy and safe holiday season, and we hope that with COVID concerns, people can still gather safely over the holidays, and we get to see everybody in the new year back on the courts, ultimately ending up March for the Nationals out on Long Island. Scott, thanks so much. Dave, thanks so much. Great job today. Patty Hogan signing off.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Dan Hansen, now the world knows Nice Thunder Dan.
At Veritext, it's not just a deposition. It's the witness that will win your trial. It's the reason you became a lawyer. It's your first case as a partner. It's that case that will make you partner. It's for the families who lost something. It's for that groundbreaking patent. It's for one of the largest companies in the world, or one of the smallest. It's something that will change someone's life forever. At Veritext, it's never just a deposition. We understand it's so much more.
Success takes hard work. Making success a legacy takes discipline. PPAC Private, your legacy, our discipline.
All right. Okay, I'll talk to you. Thanks, Evan. Bye-bye.